What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd Level Rising. My name is Jake. I want to talk about some nostalgia today. I feel like I haven't talked about anime as much as I would kind of like to on the channel, you know? So this was an idea that I had. I was just kind of, there's a new show, a couple shows that are currently airing right now. New seasons or remakes or new spin-off series or whatever that are sort of based off of or coming on the heels of something that I have a lot of nostalgia for from my childhood, and just got me thinking about a bunch of series that I have a lot of nostalgia for, and I thought that might be a fun video to kind of talk about. So I made a top 10 anime that I have the most nostalgia for, and so these are not my favorite anime of all time. These are not, it's not anything like that. This has nothing to do with the quality of the show or my personal. I very much enjoy all of these, but I'm not ranking them in terms of that. This is just a ranking of how much I get the warm and fuzzies when I think about this show, So these are all things that I either saw when I was very, very young or, at least it's been quite a long time. So let me jump in. Number 10 on the list is going to be Naruto, which I know might be a little bit of a surprise from anyone who notices that I have him tattooed on my arm. Obviously, that show and that character and his journey mean a lot to me, and just everything about what Naruto is really about, which is never giving up and just persevering and always trying to do the right thing, even if it's the hardest thing, always trying to do the right thing, being there for your friends, protecting your loved ones, working on yourself, working through feelings of inadequacy, working through feelings of really wanting to be accepted and using that as drive to push forward in your own journey of getting better, of getting stronger, of progressing in whatever thing. And that story means a ton to me. And I have so many great memories of that series. I wasn't super young when I saw this. I was maybe, I don't know, 20 years old or something when I watched Naruto. And I saw a lot of it because I was pretty sick over a summer. I got mono, and somehow I still don't know how I got it, but I had mono, and so there's just a lot of days where I missed work, and I was just laying in bed at home, and I just binge watched a bunch of this, and it got me through that, and the story is so great. I loved everything about it, the aesthetic, the art style, is the animation absolutely perfect? No, of course not. But it's still good for what it is. The story is just phenomenal. Everything, all the little mini arcs are great, but then the overarching story is so meaningful to me. So I love it very much. So there you go. Naruto, it is one of my favorite shows, but only 10 on this list, I think, because it's not one of the earliest things that I saw. So I think that's fair. Number 9 is going to be the original Rurouni Kenshin, and this is one that I have a very distinct memory of being. I was young, man. I must have been, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that. And I was a big Toonami kid, and I remember that they were showing this on Toonami at the time, or it was Toonami or Adults, the sort of Toonami Adult Swim crossover that they were doing. And it was Christmas time, and we were like decorating the Christmas tree, and my brother was sick. So he was laying in bed watching TV, and I was kind of helping decorate the tree, and Kenshin comes on, and I was so upset. I was like, I want to go watch. I don't want to decorate the tree right now. I want to go watch Kenshin. So and my parents let me. That's what we did. So I very distinctly remember that. I remember it was one of the later episodes in the first season. With I don't want to spoil anything, towards the end of sort of the big confrontation that's happening towards the end of that first season. And so I remember that really well, and there was just something about that show. I just loved the art style. That was one of my early on in my anime watching as a kid. It was the late 90s, early 2000s, and so the art style of that time period is still, to me, the golden age of anime art. I just think that those are the most beautiful looking shows, often, not always, but that's typically my preferred art style, as you'll see through some of the other shows that are on this list. And just the samurai, the period piece, of being in feudal Japan and sort of the changing of the times there, and the sword battles were great. The just all of it was so cool, and seeing Kenshin, who is such a pacifist, and he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to hurt anybody, but then you learn more about his past, and he becomes even more interesting and more deep, and then as he progresses forward, and certain things start to push him towards maybe who he used to be, and there's so much complexity there with his character that I just really appreciated. And as I got older, when I was in my, I don't know, early mid-20s, I rewatched the whole show, and I got so much more out of it. It was great. I actually understood the things that were going on, a lot of the political maneuvering and things like that. And they're now airing a remake of it where they preserved a lot of that classic art style, which is so great. They improved the animation, and they've smoothed some things out, and a couple things are a little different, but it's been a really good remake of that show, and I'm appreciating it a ton. And now we're in the Kyoto arc, so we get to see more Shishio. I love everything about that arc, so stoked for that one. That's number 9. Number 8, this is an old one, man. This is Saint Seiya. This is one, again, that I saw on TV when I was really little. I don't have very many distinct memories of it from when I was little, other than there was a lot of, I remember the cool armor. I remember that everybody had their sort of, Greek god inspired, or, Greek inspired power, constellation inspired power, things like that. And I just remember thinking like, wow, that was so cool. And I grew up watching a lot of Power Rangers and a lot of things like that, where it's this ensemble cast, this team of people who transform, and they all have their sort of individual look and power, but they complement each other, and they work as a team and do their thing, conquer evil, save the world. And then I rewatched this again, in my like mid-20s, and it's dated for sure. I believe this is from like the 80s or something. It's a pretty old show, but they are, remaking it. They're doing stuff with a lot of CGI, and which just isn't my thing. So I personally greatly prefer the original still. But it was so cool to see the actual story and actually get the story and follow everything that they're doing. And it's such a classic story, right? Good versus evil and all that. There's not a ton of depth there, but certainly more than I remember from when I was, 5 years old or whatever I was when I was watching the show. And a lot of the animation is really bad, and that's okay though, right? There's a lot of heart, and there's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of cool fights nonetheless that was super fun, right? So I loved Saint Seiya. I think I was watching the English dub, and I don't think they ever dubbed the final season, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe somebody watching this knows, and they can tell me where I can find it. I don't care if it's dubbed or subbed or what. I just need to find the final season, because I want to know how it all ends. So maybe somebody can let me know that one. Number 7 is Outlaw Star. And this one, the 90s sci-fi classic is usually Cowboy Bebop for people. But I somehow missed the boat on that growing up. I don't know. I didn't see that until I was an adult. And so I don't have a ton of nostalgia for that one. I have a ton of love for Bebop. I'm a massive fan. But it's just not as nostalgic. Outlaw Star, I saw as a kid and fell in love, man. I loved that show. All of the cool sci-fi stuff, the spaceships, the guns, the aliens, all of that was so cool. The characters were fantastic. Jean is so much fun. I can't remember the cat alien girl's name right now, but she's cool. There's so many fun character interactions there. There's so much great action. There is moments of really high stakes. There's moments of really low stakes where it's just fun. The art style is like my personal favorite art style, hands down. I think the animation still holds up really well. Go watch Outlaw Star. Go watch Outlaw Star, please. If you like sci-fi stuff at all, especially like gritty, kind of realistic sci-fi, I guess you could say. Go check that show out. It's not super long. Some of these other ones, Naruto is incredibly long. Kenshin's it's pretty long when you watch all the seasons. Saint Seiya is very long. Outlaw Star is like 24 episodes or something, right? So very, very, very much worth your time. I always think of it, to me, in the same breath as Bebop and Trigun, right? Those are sort of like the three that I always think about at the same time. that were just phenomenal. And Outlaw Star is the only one I saw as a kid, but Bebop and Trigun that I watched when I was older are just fantastic as well, obviously. Next one, this has to be on the list for pretty much everybody, right? And that's Pokemon. I mean, who in my generation didn't grow up watching the Pokemon anime? And that was one that, like, you didn't realize it was anime, right? We just thought it was a cartoon, we just thought it was a TV show. And now that we're older, we realize, like, oh yeah, that's an anime, right? But it's just one of those. It's just so wholesome and lighthearted and fun. And there's some heavy themes, some heavy moments in there. And you think about, like, the first Mewtwo movie, for example. There's some heavy stuff in there. So they slip some really good stuff in there also, some really good substance, some things that you can learn and take away from it. But at the end of the day, it's just fun, and it's about friendship and going out on a journey and growing and persevering and all that stuff, you know. And I watched a bunch of this growing up. I haven't seen everything that's been released, but I've seen quite a bit of it, and it always just makes me feel good, you know. It always just makes me feel good. It inspired me to, you know, I collected a bunch of the cards. I never learned how to play the card game. I just collected the cards. I still have them back here behind me. I've been getting the itch to start getting them again. But yeah, I still never learned how to play the game. I never had a Game Boy growing up, so I didn't play the games. I bought a DS when I was in my 20s and played a couple of them. But yeah, so I missed out on some of those core Pokemon memories, but the TV show will always have a special place in my heart. Now we get into the top 5. And we got a couple more of the old 90s, early 2000s Toonami days. Number 5, I think we're going to go with Yu Yu Hakusho, which is it's somehow still such an underrated shonen. You know, we see a lot of the shonens from the time that are very highly regarded and they're legendary, right? But Yu Yu Hakusho kind of gets pushed off to the side sometimes for whatever reason. I think it's maybe because it's a little bit less comedic as a whole, but nonetheless, it's the action and the story, insofar as a shonen gives you a deep story, it's up there, man. It's really up there towards the top, I think. You know, we get episode 1, literally, our main character dies, and he's like this delinquent punk kid. That's sort of what we have, right? We're kind of sort of following these delinquents, and you know, he finally does something good, you know, and he dies, and so obviously he's upset. The rival punk gang kids are you know, they're torn up because their rival died, and that they loved him at the end of the day, right? I mean, they hated him, but they loved him. And I think that right off the bat, it grabs you with like these emotional hooks that just pull you in, and you're stuck there, you know. And you go through that first season, and you know, Yusuke, who's our main character, who died, and now he's sort of recruited as a ghost detective, and he's there sort of working to find demons and ghosts and these things, and battles ensue, and mysteries ensue, and training arcs ensue, and you know, a lot of your typical shonen stuff, but it's got this really cool like occult wrapping around it. And then we start to get, you know, our team of people together, and you know, our companions that go forward, and then you get into the Dark Tournament later in the show. I challenge you to find a better tournament arc in any anime compared to the Dark Tournament in Yu Yu Hakusho. It is breathtaking how great that is, and Toguro and everything we get with them. You know, you keep going through the show, and you get the third season that's very different, but it's still really, really great. I still loved all of that stuff. The final season, you know, I don't know. I feel like I would have preferred maybe a slightly different ending, but nonetheless, this show, even if you just watch through the Dark Tournament, I think that's a very valid and solid place to stop. But just, it's so underrated somehow, and it's so good. I think I've watched it all the way through, maybe 3 or 4 times. It's so good, man. It's so good. And then number 4 on the list is something a little bit different, more sci-fi, is the Gundam shows, sort of as a whole, because as a kid, I saw bits and pieces of a bunch of them. You know, I saw Gundam Wing, I saw the original Mobile Suit Gundam, I saw some of the lesser known, like Gundam Seed, and the Endless Waltz movie, and G Gundam, like the weird shonen one that they did, and Unicorn, you know, some of these, just a bunch of these different Gundam shows. And I never really knew what was going on, right? I didn't really get it, but it was just cool, huge robots fighting. And what I liked about the Gundam show is like the mechs they're war machines, right? They're not just these kind of goofy Megazords from Power Rangers. It's like a legit war machine that was created by engineers to fight in the future, right? Very, very realistic. The Gundam series is very realistic. And as I've gotten older, I kind of slowly went back and rewatched some of these shows, and they're so good, man. I mean, you watch like the original Mobile Suit Gundam, and the animation's not great, the art's not amazing, but it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very endearing, and the sound design's not great, and so it's dated for sure. I mean, it's from like the 80s, I think, that original one, but they have it split into 3 movies on Netflix that are truncated version of the 50 whatever episodes of that show, and that's how I would probably watch it, to be honest. But there's so much really, really interesting and really captivating political intrigue that's happening through that show. And there's a lot of, obviously you get the cool Gundam fights, the cool mobile suit fights. You get a lot of interesting ideas with the evolution of mankind as we start to explore the idea of new types, or sort of humans who have sort of grown to evolve to have faster reflexes, and maybe just like fast enough reflexes that it starts to hint at some clairvoyance here and there. But it's not so far into that realm that it feels out of reach or unrealistic. It all feels very, very realistic. And that's, to me, like that's what Gundam is. It's realism, future warfare, basically. And so aside from G Gundam, that's the shonen version where we get the tournament arc of all the mobile suits from different countries and stuff, which is just super fun. But they've done so many of these shows. There's a bunch of them that I haven't seen, but I've seen enough of them that I would definitely consider myself a big Gundam fan. And it's been really fun to go back and rewatch some of the stuff from when I was a kid, when I had the little action figures and all that stuff. So yeah, man, Gundam, very, very cool. And the prequel series that they made, it's called The Advent of the Red Comet, is on Crunchyroll. It's only 12 episodes long. I would start there, personally. If you're interested in getting into Gundam, but you don't know where to start, there's so much. There are recommended watching orders that you can Google, that you find them on Reddit or whatever. But I would start with the prequel series, 12 episodes long. It was made just a few years ago, so the quality is really good, and it'll really get you bought in to the characters and the story and stuff that's going on. And I think a lot of people, I think the harsh reality these days, if a lot of people go back and watch something from the 80s, they're just not going to like it because they don't like the quality of it. But if you start with the prequel, get that really good quality, then you go back and watch some of the older stuff, I think you'll have a better time. Okay, top three. These were well, let's face it, these weren't hard to rank. The rest of these were kind of hard to rank. Number 3 is gonna be Digimon as a whole. The Digimon is it's the push to the side version of Pokemon, right? It's just the one that didn't quite catch on quite as hard. But I love Digimon. I like the show better than Pokemon, for sure. I mean, like I said, these are not ranked in order of my enjoyment or the quality of the show. But in terms of comparing, those two get compared a lot, and I definitely preferred the Digimon show over the Pokemon show, as much as I love Pokemon. I love them both, of course. But Digimon was so fun, man, and you get that original run that was just, oh man, it just makes me feel so warm and fuzzy to think about. It really does. And then that movie that just blew me away as a kid, and then you get the second group of the is it just season 2? I don't know, Digimon Adventure 2. That second group of kids coming in, second group of Digimon coming in, that was great. And then I loved all the other, Digimon Tamers was awesome. And I'm blanking on the name of, you got the one with where they turn into Digimon. That was super great. You got the one where they use the cards. That was awesome. Like, there's just so many cool things that they've done with the concept of Digimon that have just, I don't know. I just love it. It's just great. It's just super fun. I played the card game growing up. I played a couple of the video games here and there. Those are really fun. But poor Leomon is the Sean Bean of of anime. If you know, you know. But it's man, I don't know. I just have so much good vibes when I think about that show, and parts of it get super dark. And even early on, like that original movie, the animation's fantastic, even though it's pretty old. There's a lot of really interesting things they do with technology, and you know, your classic tropes of an anime that's kind of focused on kids, right? Of friendship and courage and not giving up and all those sorts of things that are always great. Those always hit, But I think a lot of the things that they do with technology and sort of the intersection of technology with humanity and some of those themes that they work in there make it special, So Digimon is I can't say enough good things about it. It's so great. It's so hard for me to pick a favorite. Everybody loves Greymon, obviously. Everybody loves Garurumon. All those are classics, but man, Guilmon is my guy. I really love Guilmon. He's so fun. He's so funny. He's so adorable. And his evolutions, his Digivolutions are so cool and badass. And I love he's probably my favorite if I had to pick one. Angemon is another legendary one, right? Angemon is a early waifu for most people. And, there's just so many classic characters in there, so that one's fantastic. Number 2, Yu-Gi-Oh! For me is peak. I mean, number 2 and number 1 are interchangeable, right? But I threw Yu-Gi-Oh! At number 2 just because it was a later, I came to it a little bit later, right? That's the only reason. But I vividly remember it was 2001, man. And I remember seeing the pilot on TV. And I knew it changed my life. I knew it as I was watching it. I was just so hooked, so locked in. And it was everything to me. Every birthday, every Christmas, the only gifts I ever wanted were Yu-Gi-Oh cards. All I wanted to do was play Yu-Gi-Oh! All I wanted to do was watch the show. I have the original show on DVD, all right, the sets of all of those. I've watched it I think I've watched the show all the way through probably 5 or 6 times or something. The first 3 seasons I've seen more than that. I can't say enough about it, man. I can't say enough. I had a computer game. I've played Duel Links a little bit. I played Master Duel, played Legacy of the Duelist. They just announced recently a big collection of the old Game Boy games that they're going to re-release on Steam that I cannot wait to get that. I think it's maybe February is when it comes out or something. That I never had a Game Boy growing up, like I said, so I can't wait to get that and play those old school games. Because I'm an old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Elitist. I will not back down from that. The new mechanics can be fun, but I'm just not a fan of this win in one turn thing, right? I just don't like that. I like the old school game where it's much more like chess. It's slow and you're there and it's the back and forth and there's so much strategy, so much adjustments that you're making throughout the game. I really, really like that better, right? I don't know. It's just me. But yeah, it's just phenomenal. That original series is one of my favorite things ever. You get into like GX that I didn't like as much, but it was still fun. 5Ds, I actually like better than GX, to be honest, but still nothing like the original one. And then from there, it just all falls apart and they get progressively less watchable. I haven't watched Vrains yet. I think that's the only one I haven't watched that I've heard that one's a little bit better. So I'll give that one a shot at some point. But I don't care how horrible they get. The original series of Yu-Gi-Oh! With all the Egyptian stuff it's always going to be so special to me. I will get a tattoo for it at some point. I just don't know exactly when or exactly what character to get or what thing to get, but I'll get something for sure. But Yu-Gi-Oh! It's so special with the card game is the heart of it, right? And it's so fun, but then you get all of the Egyptian mythology that gets woven in there. I love that. I've always loved Egyptian mythology. So cool. You get all of your classic, child geared anime themes of friendship and all of those. And as silly as it sounds, like that show taught me a lot about friendship growing up, So Yu-Gi-Oh's number 2, which means only one thing could be number 1, right? And that's Dragon Ball Z. It's got to be that. And the only reason that this edged out Yu-Gi-Oh is because literally one of my earliest memories in my life is seeing Dragon Ball Z. I woke up in the middle of the night in a hotel room and we were on vacation, turned the TV on, and there's Zarbon in his monster form was on the TV and it scared me and I turned it off. And then weeks later, I saw it on TV again, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this isn't so scary," and just was sucked in. And Dragon Ball Z was everything to me. Dragon Ball Z and Yu-Gi-Oh were like the things growing up. I mean, those were so just life shaping of my personality as a kid. Dragon Ball Z is why I lift weights, right? Like seeing that and seeing those guys, they lift weights and they train and they get bigger and they get jacked and you know, and they get stronger, and then they can save the world, they can help their friends, they can do all this cool stuff. They're progressing as people, and that's what inspired me, like so many other people, to get in the gym for the first time. And it's you know, such classic, amazing character. I mean, Goku's in the New York parades and stuff. Like, it's unreal how legendary some of these characters are, and it's just, it's hard to even describe, man. I've seen Dragon Ball Z so many times all the way through. I have never read the manga, though. I do want to read the manga, and I think that would be a really fun journey, you know, to start all the way at the beginning with Dragon Ball, and then go through Dragon Ball Z, and then you know, all that, and go through Super and the entire journey. Dragon Ball Z is the one that stands out to me the most. Dragon Ball I enjoyed. I don't think I've even seen all of it. I've seen most of it, but I don't know. I missed some of it somehow. Dragon Ball GT I actually think is underrated. I like that more than most people. Dragon Ball Super I think is overrated. I like that less than most people. But nonetheless, all of it is great. And I still am trying desperately to free up some time in my day to where I can play Sparking Zero, because I grew up just so many hours into the Budokai games. And from what I hear, for those of us who grew up playing the Budokai games, Sparking Zero is like the game that you've been wanting for a long time. So I definitely need to make some time for that. But nothing else could top this list other than those two, and especially with DBZ. It just it had to be that. So rest in peace to Toriyama, by the way, and rest in peace to Takahashi from Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Right? I hate that these creators die. It's very sad. But there you go. That's my top 10 list of nostalgic anime. Again, these are not ranked in order of enjoyment or quality or anything like that. These are just nostalgia. So I love all these. Let me know in the comments, what do you like the most? What do you have the most nostalgia for? Is it these? Do you have a different list? You know, what's going on? Talk to me down there. It's always my favorite thing to do. Give me a thumbs up on the video if you liked it. That really does seem to help. I don't know a ton about how this stuff works, but it seems like that helps. I don't know. Everybody else says it helps, so it must. And you know, if you haven't subscribed, you've been here, you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. Super quick and easy, and I appreciate it greatly. And it grows the community, and I get to meet more people, talk to more people about books and anime and manga and just all the cool stuff that we all like, you know. So thank you so much for being here. This is continues to be such an amazing journey. I love it. I have not talked about anime enough here, but it is a very big part of my life and one of my big passions. So I'm going to try to talk about it a little bit more here and there when I can. This is always going to be predominantly a booktube channel, but we got to slot some other stuff in there every once in a while, I think. You know what I mean? So okay, thanks for watching. Let me know what anime you are the most nostalgic for in the comments. I'll talk to you down there.